3 knocks in a blizzard. That's all it took to shatter 3 years of perfect solitude. In the autumn of 1891, when the first brutal snow settled over Black Ridge Mountain, a woman named Mara Ellison lived alone in a cabin the locals feared to approach. They called her the Ridge Witch, a woman who'd turned her back on civilization, who trusted her rifle more than any human promise. She had one rule: never open the door. But on a November night when the temperature dropped to 20 below and the wind screamed like the dying, 3 weak knocks broke through her resolve. Behind that door stood a man with expensive boots and desperate eyes, cradling a child who was barely breathing. What Mara didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that the man shivering on her threshold was Calder Ashford, heir to the largest ranch in Montana. And the men hunting him through the storm weren't just hired guns, they were family. For the next 30 minutes, you'll discover how a billionaire rancher running for his life and a solitary woman who'd sworn off humanity forged an alliance that turned into the most unexpected love story the frontier had ever seen. Could you stand beside a stranger against an army? Could you open your heart after 3 years of deliberately closing it? Stay with me, because what happens in this snowbound cabin will leave you breathless. Let me tell you about Mara Ellison before that knock changed everything. 3 years and 4 months. That's how long she'd survived on Black Ridge Mountain without a single visitor. The truth was, Mara Ellison had come from a world of Boston parlors and Philadelphia society dinners. A world where money wasn't freedom, it was a cage with gilded bars. 3 days before her wedding, she fled, choosing the mountain because it was brutal, because it demanded everything and forgave nothing. If she could survive here, she'd never need anyone again. Her cabin was small, 400 square feet of hand-hewn logs she'd reinforced herself. She spoke to no one, trusted no one. The solitude was her armor. She was sharpening her hunting knife when the first knock came. Slow, desperate, the sound of desperation. Mara's hand froze on the blade. She thought, nobody comes up here in a storm. She peered through the shutters, seeing shadows. One tall, hunched over, one small, motionless. She warned herself, don't do it. Don't open that door. Then came the sound that shattered 3 years of careful isolation. A child's cry, weak, terrified, fading. Mara grabbed her rifle, checked the load, and made a decision. She muttered, damn it, and opened the door. The man on her threshold was barely standing, one eye swollen, his lips split. Bruises spread across his jaw. Someone had beaten him. Mara kept her rifle raised. Who are you? She demanded. The man's voice was strained and desperate. Please, my son, he's not breathing right. Mara's eyes dropped to the boy. His lips were blue, his small body shaking with violent shivers. Advanced hypothermia. She snapped, inside, now, don't touch anything. He stumbled in, collapsing near the fireplace, still clutching his son. Mara slammed the door against the wind. She thought, rich man, beaten, running, child dying. This is trouble. This is exactly the kind of trouble you came here to escape. But the boy made a small, pitiful sound, and Mara's armor cracked. She commanded, put him by the fire. Strip off his wet clothes. All of them, now. The man obeyed, his hands clumsy and frozen. He whispered to the child, stay with me, Finn. Stay with Papa. We're safe now. We're safe. Just stay with me. The boy, Finn, was barely audible. Cold, Papa, so cold. Mara moved to the stove and made strong chamomile tea. She knelt beside the child. What's his name? She asked. Finn. Finnegan, the father replied. Finn, I need you to drink this. Small sips. Can you do that for me? He drank obediently. Slowly, color began returning to his cheeks. The man beside him released a shuddering breath, tears cutting tracks through the grime on his face. Thank you. God. Thank you. Mara stood abruptly, uncomfortable with gratitude. She said coldly, don't thank me yet. You're staying one night. When the storm breaks, you're gone. Understood, he said. We won't be any trouble. You already are, she retorted. She turned away, trying to ignore the way her hands were trembling. She didn't know that outside in the howling storm, 5 men on horseback had just reached the base of the mountain, and they were coming up. An hour passed. The man, Calder, sat with his arms wrapped around his aching ribs. Mara watched him, rifle across her lap, counting the inconsistencies. The expensive clothes, the educated speech, the controlled pain. She stated flatly, "You're hurt." "I'll manage," he replied. "That wasn't a question. Let me see." When she insisted, he slowly unbuttoned his shirt. Mara examined his side. "Cracked. At least 2, maybe 3. You need a doctor." "Can't get to one," he said. "Can't or won't," she pressed. Silence. As she wrapped his ribs, she asked, "How did this happen?" "I fell." "You fell," she repeated disbelievingly. "And beat your own face bloody in the process?" He sighed, his voice quiet. "Someone pushed me. People I trusted." "Why?" He met her eyes. "Because I have something they want, and they're willing to kill me, and my son, to get it." "What do they want?" "Everything." Mara stood. "What's your name?" After a long pause, he answered, "Calder. Calder Ashford." The name hit Mara like a physical blow. Ashford. The valley below was named Ashford, the massive ranch, the family that wielded power. "You're the heir," she whispered. He managed a bitter laugh. "I was, and now I'm a man trying to keep his son alive." He told her the truth. His father died 8 months ago, leaving everything to him. If Calder died before Finn turned 18, the wealth passed to his uncle, Marcus Ashford, who desperately needed the money. Calder had overheard his uncle planning their murders. "They'll wait out the storm," Mara concluded. "Come at first light." "I know," Calder said. "You can't fight with broken ribs. You'll die, and your son will die." Calder's voice was steady and resolved. "As long as there's a chance Finn survives, I'll take it." Something in that pure, fierce determination cracked Mara's walls. She thought, maybe I'm tired of running. She picked up her rifle. "Then we make a stand. Here." Calder stared. "You don't owe us anything." "No, I don't," she agreed. "But I didn't survive 3 years alone just to let greedy men kill a child on my mountain." Mara dragged out her storage chest, distributing a second rifle and ammunition. "You know how to use that," she said. "Every Ashford learns to shoot before they learn to read," Calder confirmed. She checked the sight lines and lifted 3 floorboards, revealing the root cellar. "If things go badly, Finn will be safe here." Calder's voice was thick with emotion. "Thank you." "Save it," Mara snapped, though her tone was softening. "I'm not doing this for gratitude. I'm tired of running." They froze as a new sound cut through the wind. Sound, distant horses, barely audible. "They're here," Mara whispered. "It's still dark." "Means they're desperate. Wake your son. Get him in the cellar. Now." Calder knelt beside his frightened son. "I need you to be very brave, buddy. Can you do that? The bad men are coming, but Miss Mara and I won't let them hurt you." Finn's small voice was full of tears. "I'm scared, Papa." "I know. I'm scared too. But sometimes being brave means doing what's right even when we're terrified." Mara knelt beside them. "Finn, I promised myself I'd never let anyone hurt someone who couldn't defend themselves. We're going to make sure you're safe." "Promise?" Finn asked. "I promise." Calder kissed his son and lowered him into the cellar, replacing the floorboards. The desperate father vanished, replaced by a dangerous, resolute man. "Where do you want me?" Calder asked. "East window. Covers the main trail. I'll take west." They moved to their positions as the horses grew closer, then stopped. Dawn broke, and Mara counted 6 armed men. Marcus Ashford was in the center. Marcus shouted across the snow, "Calder, I know you're in there. Come out. Let's discuss this like family." Mara knew they needed information. She stood in the doorway, rifle visible. "You're trespassing on private property. Turn around and leave." Marcus laughed. "Who the hell are you? Lady, this whole territory is Ashford property." "Not this ridge. Check your surveys. This claim predates your fancy ranch by 30 years. Mara shot back. "I'm protecting a man and his child from murderers." "There's a difference." Marcus's voice turned cold. "You're making a fatal mistake." "Won't be my first," Mara retorted and slammed the door. Calder stared at her in awe. "You just declared war on the most powerful man in Montana." The first shot came from the east. The bullet punched through the shutter, missing Mara by inches. "Contact east," she yelled. For 2 hours, the siege continued. Mara's precise shooting and Calder's deliberate covering fire drove the men back again and again. They worked in perfect synchronization, like partners who'd trained together for years. But they were running low on ammunition. The gunfire stopped. Marcus's voice returned, closer now. "Calder, you can't win this. Even if you survive today, I'll come back. Again and again. Your son will never be safe." Mara saw the moment Calder made his decision. He stood and stepped into the doorway, rifle lowered. "You're right, Marcus. You'll keep coming, unless I give you a reason to stop. I've documented everything, every threat, every conspiracy. I've sent sealed letters to 3 different lawyers in 3 different states. If anything happens to me or Finn, they're instructed to open those letters and deliver the contents to the territorial marshal, the newspapers, and the federal government." Mara's breath caught. It was a brilliant bluff. Marcus stood silent, weighing the risk. Finally, he lowered his rifle. "This isn't over, Calder." "Yes, it is," Calder shot back. "Because if you come after us again, everyone will know what you are, and you'll lose everything you've killed for." Marcus turned his horse. "Mount up. We're leaving." As the sound of hoofbeats faded, Calder's legs gave out. Mara rushed forward, catching him. "I've got you! I've got you!" Calder laughed and cried at once. "Did that work? Did they actually leave? The letters." "There are no letters. I was bluffing. Complete bluff." Mara smiled despite herself. "I know. It was brilliant." From beneath the floorboards, Finn's tentative voice asked, "Papa, is it over?" Calder's voice broke completely. "It's over, buddy. Come on up." Mara pulled up the floorboards and Finn launched himself into his father's arms. Calder held his son, sobbing with relief. Mara turned away, wiping at her eyes. For 3 years, her cabin had been silent. Now it was filled with the sounds of a father comforting his child. And Mara realized something terrifying. She didn't want them to leave. 3 days passed before anyone spoke of leaving. On the second day, Calder found Mara chopping wood alone. "You shouldn't be doing that alone," he said. "I've been doing it alone for 3 years," she replied without stopping. "You don't have to anymore," he insisted. The axe paused mid-swing. "Don't say things you don't mean," she warned. "I don't." He took the axe gently from her hands and, despite his injury, began to work beside her. They worked in silence as the sun rose, building something neither of them had words for yet. On the third day, Finn transformed the cabin with his laughter. That evening, Calder found Mara on the porch. "We should leave soon," he said. "We've imposed long enough." Mara's stomach dropped. "Where will you go?" "North, like I originally planned. Canada, somewhere Marcus can't reach us." He paused. Unless you'd consider coming with us." Mara turned sharply. "What? Come with us? Mara, you saved our lives, and I haven't felt this steady in years. With you, I don't feel like the Ashford heir. I just feel like Calder, a man trying to protect his son." Mara's voice was shaking. "I came to this mountain to be alone. I don't know how to be around people anymore." "Neither do I," he admitted. "But with you, I don't feel like I have to run." He took her hand. "Mara Ellison, the ridge witch who isn't really a witch. Will you take a chance on 2 people who desperately need you?" She looked at the cabin, her sanctuary, her prison. Then she looked at the man holding her hand. "I'll need 2 days to prepare the cabin for winter closure. Then we leave together." Calder's smile was like sunrise breaking over the mountain. Together. She listed her conditions. They were partners and equals, and Finn would learn self-sufficiency. Calder agreed instantly. "Third," Mara added softer now, "be patient with me. I'm not good at this, at trusting, at being close to people." Calder lifted her hand and pressed it against his heart. "Mara, I'll wait as long as you need. We'll figure this out together. No expectations, just us." And there, under a Montana sky, Mara Ellison made the bravest decision of her life. She chose to stop running. 5 days later, 3 figures rode down the northern face of Black Ridge Mountain. A man with healing ribs, a boy who sang about brave folks, and a woman who'd learned that sometimes the greatest risk isn't opening your door. It's opening your heart. 6 months later, in a small cabin just across the Canadian border, Mara Ellison Ashford watched Calder teach Finn to chop wood. Calder looked up, catching her watching, and smiled. "What are you thinking?" "That I'm glad I opened the door," she replied. That night, Calder sat beside her by the fire. "Any regrets? About leaving the mountain? Sometimes about leaving alone?" "Never." He said, "I love you, Mara Ellison." She set down her book. "I don't know if I know how to love properly. I'm still learning." "That's okay. I'm learning too. We'll figure it out together." "Together," she repeated, smiling. "I'm still getting used to that word. Take your time. We have the rest of our lives." And there, in a cabin that smelled of pine smoke and new beginnings, two people who'd married survival to survival began building something more precious than safety. They built love. The greatest inheritances aren't measured in acres or dollars or family names. They're measured in the courage to open your door when it's easier to stay closed. Calder Ashford came to Blackridge Mountain running from violence and greed. He left with something worth more than his $50 million inheritance. Mara Ellison spent 3 years building walls. In 3 days, a desperate father and his brave son showed her that walls can become windows if you're brave enough to open them. And sometimes, just sometimes, the greatest love stories begin with 3 desperate knocks in a blizzard and the courage to answer. This has been The Ranch Heir and the Ridge Witch, a story about survival, sacrifice, and the unexpected families we build when we're brave enough to stop running. If this story moved you, let us know in the comments. Would you have opened that door? Hit that like button if you believe in second chances and found families. Subscribe for more emotional frontier tales that'll leave you believing in the power of human connection. Because sometimes the people who save us are the ones we almost didn't let in.